Hello, my name is Hakon, and welcome back, all you fabulous fighting fantasy aficionados, friends, family, and other random passers-by for this fourth episode of playing Deathtrap Dungeon. Now, even though this is the fourth episode, I did 2 runs. The first episode, I did 4 runs. This, yeah, 1 run the second episode, and 4 runs the third episode. So this is my 8th time playing this book now, because as the name suggests, there may or may not be a few death traps in this dungeon. And even though it's a proper classic dungeon crawl with lots of traps, and they don't feel out of place because it suits the setting. Um, I am getting closer to finding the right path through this book. I've managed to find quite a bit of it last time, but there's still some bits and pieces missing. I'm missing at least 1 gem. Possibly, yeah, actually, I'm missing 2 gems probably. In order to, because when you get to the end, you need the right gems to win. So, I'll try again and see how it goes this time. So, I'll be ready on my desk in a moment, and I'll just get my things ready to play Deathtrap Dungeon yet again. Boom. Okay, so here we have it. I got my supplies ready, got my book, got my notepad, and some old character sheets here. Dice, pens, pencil, my very important maps, because without the maps, there's no way you can do this, I think. Well, actually, you could memorize the correct path quite easily in this one, I think. But and my cup of Earl Grey tea. Right, so lots of places on my map now. I've made little sort of circles in pencil, which are or pen, that I think is the best path to take to get through the book. Still a few unknowns and uncertainties. It only goes about this far. There's still quite a bit left, so let's see how we get on today. Now, first I'll have to make my character. Another thing in this book, of course, even with good abilities, good starting abilities, it is easy to die. Last time I almost managed to die, even with 11 skill in one battle. So yeah, so skill 11, I suppose that is okay. Should not really be anything less. Stamina, that's too low. I'm going to re-roll that. So that's 19, and luck 2. I don't think that's going to be good enough. 5, also 11. I think that is doable. We've got provisions, which give us back 4 stamina every time we rest, and we got a potion of. Do we need a potion of stamina this time? Because it does. I think maybe the provisions might be enough to keep us going. And unlike the Forest of Doom, there doesn't seem to be any way that our provisions go missing. And there are a few ways to lose skill, which would be quite rubbish. Luck, I'm just thinking what we get. I think I'll still go with a potion of stamina, or potion of strength, as it's called in the game books. Right, and gold, we'll pick up a few gold pieces at least on the way. Let's get started. So, despite its name, Fang was an ordinary small town in the northern province of Chiang Mai. Situated on the banks of the River Kok, it made a convenient stopover for river traders and passengers throughout most of the year. A few barges, rafts, and sometimes even a large sailboat could usually be found moored at Fang. But all that was long ago, before the creation of the Trial of Champions. Now, once a year, the river is crammed with boats as people arrive from hundreds of miles around, hoping to witness the breaking of an ancient tradition in Fang and see a victor in the Trial of Champions. On 1st of May each year, warriors and heroes come to Fang to face the test of their lives. Survival is unlikely, yet many take the risk, for the prize is great. A purse of 10,000 gold pieces and the freedom of Chiang Mai forever. However, to become champion is no easy task. Some years ago, a powerful baron of Fang called Soreide decided to bring attention to his town by creating the ultimate contest. With the help of the townspeople, he constructed a labyrinth deep in the hillside behind Fang from which there was only one exit. The labyrinth was filled with all kinds of deadly tricks and traps and loathsome monsters. Soreide had designed it in meticulous detail so that anybody hoping to face its challenge would have to use their wits as well as weapon skill. When he was finally satisfied that all was complete, he put his labyrinth to the test. He picked 10 of his finest guards, and fully armed, they marched into the labyrinth. They were never seen again. The tale of the ill-fated guards soon spread throughout the land, and it was then that Soreide announced the first trial of champions. Messengers and news sheets carried his challenge, 10,000 gold pieces and the freedom of Chiang Mai forever, to any person surviving the perils of the labyrinth of Fang. The first year, 17 brave warriors attempted the walk, as it later came to be known. Not one reappeared. As the years passed and the trial of champions continued, it attracted more and more challengers and spectators. Fang prospered and would prepare itself months in advance for the spectacle it hosted each May. The town would be decorated, tents erected, dining halls built, musicians, dancers, fire eaters, illusionists, and every sort of entertainer hired, and entries registered from hopeful individuals intent on making the walk. Now, this actually is a bit sort of far-fetched, I think, because the problem with this is you see the contestants, they go into a labyrinth, you never see them again. I mean, what's all the big fuss about? You actually don't get to see any action whatsoever as a spectator. It doesn't make any sense. And like proper games where you see them actually fighting in an arena or something like that. So the concept of this book is completely flawed, but nevertheless. The last week of April found the people of Fang and its visitors in a wild celebration. Everybody sang, drank, danced, and laughed until day broke on 1st of May, when the town thronged to the gates of the labyrinth to watch the first challenger of the year step forward to face the trial of champions. Having seen one of Soreide's challenges nailed to a tree, you decide that this year you will attempt the walk. For the last 5 years, you have been attracted to it, not for the rewards, but for the simple fact that nobody has ever yet emerged victorious from the labyrinth, which is a good reason not to do it. You intend to make this the year in which a champion is crowned. Gathering up a few belongings, you set off immediately. 2 days' walk takes you west to the coast, where you enter the cursed Port Blacksand. Wasting no time in that city of thieves, you buy your passage on a small boat sailing north to where the River Cock meets the sea. From there you take a raft upriver for 4 days, until finally you arrive in Fang. The trial begins in 3 days' time, and the town is in an almost hysterical mood of excitement. You register your entry with the officials and are given a violet scarf to tie around your arm, informing everyone of your status. For 3 days you enjoy Fang's greatest hospitality and are treated like a demigod. During the long merriment, you almost forget your purpose in Fang, but the evening before the trial, the magnitude of the task ahead begins to dominate your thoughts. Later, you are taken to a special guest house and shown to your room. There is a splendid 4-poster bed with satin sheets to help you rest, but there is little time left to sleep. Just before dawn, a trumpet call awakens you from vivid dreams of flaming pits and giant black spiders. Minutes later, there is a knock on your door, and a man's voice rings out saying, "Your challenge begins soon. Please be ready to leave in 10 minutes." You climb out of bed, walk over to the window, and open the shutters. Already people are thronging the streets, moving quietly through the morning mist. Spectators on their way to the labyrinth, no doubt, hoping to find good vantage points from which to watch the competitors. You turn away and walk over to a wooden table on which your trusty sword lies. You pick it up and cut the air with a mighty sweep, wondering what beasts its sharp edge may soon have to meet. Then you open the door into the corridor. A small man with slanted eyes greets you with a low bow as you emerge from your bedroom. "Please follow me," he says. He turns to his left and walks quickly towards the stairs at the end of the corridor. Leaving your guest house, he darts down narrow alleyways between houses, and you have to walk quickly to keep up with him. Soon you come into a wide dirt road lined with cheering crowds. When they see a violet scarf, they cheer even louder and start showering you with flowers. The long shadows cast by the people in front of you shrink as the bright yellow sun rises higher in the morning sky. Standing there in front of the noisy and vibrant crowd, you feel strangely alone, aware of your coming ordeal. Suddenly you feel a tug on your shirt and see a small guide eagerly beckoning you to follow him. Ahead, you see the looming hillside and the dark mouth of a tunnel disappearing into its inner depths. As you get closer, you notice two great stone pillars on either side of the tunnel entrance. The pillars are covered with ornate carvings, writhing serpents, demons, deities, each seeming to scream a silent warning to those who would pass beyond them. You see Baron Succumbet himself standing by the entrance, waiting to greet the contenders in the trial of champions. You count 5 others standing proudly in line, the violet scarves displayed for all to see. There are 2 bare-chested barbarians dressed in furs. They stand completely motionless, legs straight and slightly apart, arms thrust forward to rest on the hilts of their long double-headed battle axes. A sleek elven woman with golden hair and feline green eyes is adjusting the crossbelt of daggers wrapped around her leather tunic. Of the 2 remaining men, one is covered from head to foot in iron plate armor, with a plumed helmet and a crested shield. The other is cloaked in black robes, his black robes, only his dark eyes showing between the swathes of his black face scarves. Long knives, a wire garrote, and other silent death weapons hang from his belt. The 5 contenders acknowledged your arrival with almost imperceptible nods of the head, and you turn to face the exultant crowd for the last time. Suddenly a hush falls over the crowd as Baron Succumbet steps forward holding 6 bamboo sticks. They draw one from his outstretched hand and read the word 5th. Then the trial begins. The knight is first. He salutes the crowd before disappearing into the tunnel, and is followed half an hour later by the elf. Next goes a barbarian and then the dark assassin. Now it is your turn to salute the crowd. Holding your violet scarf aloft, you take one final deep breath of cool, fresh air before turning to pass between the stone-pillared gateway into Succumbet's corridors of power, to face unknown perils on the walk through the mighty Baron's Deathtrap dungeon. Now turn over. If I have to play this again, maybe I'll skip the intro. Okay. Paragraph 1. So it begins. The clamour of the excited spectators gradually fades behind you as you venture deep into the gloom of the cavern tunnel. Large crystals hang from the tunnel roof at 20-meter intervals, radiating a soft light, just enough for you to see your way. As your eyes gradually become accustomed to the near darkness, you begin to see movement all around. Spiders and beetles crawling up and down the chiseled walls disappear quickly into cracks and crevices as they sense your approach. Rats and mice scurry along the floor ahead of you. Droplets of water drip into small pools with an eerie plopping sound which echoes down the tunnel. The air is cold, moist, and dank. After walking slowly along the tunnel for about 5 minutes, you arrive at a stone table, standing against the wall to your left. On it there are 6 boxes, one of which has your name painted on its lid. If you wish to open the box, turn to 270. I will open the box. The lid of the box lifts off easily. Inside you find 2 gold pieces and a note written on a small piece of parchment addressed to you. After placing the gold in your pocket, you read the message, which says, "Well done, at least you have the sense to stop and take advantage of the token aid given to you. Now I can advise that you will need to find and use several items if you hope to pass triumphantly through my Deathtrap dungeon. Signed, Succumbet." Very helpful. Or not. Memorizing the advice on the note, you tear it into tiny pieces, which you can't do because it's parchment, and you continue north along the tunnel, and you turn to 66. Right. After walking down the tunnel for a few minutes, you come to a junction. Let's see, I can move this a little bit to the side there. Okay, we come to a junction. A white arrow painted on one wall points west. On the floor you can see wet footprints made by those who entered before you. It is hard to be sure, but it looks as though 3 of them followed the direction of the arrow, while 1 decided to go east. If you wish to head west, turn to 293. If you wish to head east, turn to 119. And I've sort of decided that going east is the best bet. So I'm going to go east and go to 119. Ahead, you can see a large obstruction on the tunnel floor. Although it is too dark to make out exactly what it is, the wet footprints you have been following carry on towards the obstruction. If you want to continue east, turn to 56. Rather go back, turn to etc. Let's say I'm going to continue. You see that the obstruction is a large brown boulder-like object. You touch it with your hand and are surprised to find that it is soft and spongy. If you should try to climb over it, turn to 373, which is what I'm going to do, because if you try to cut it, you get these fungal spores that you breathe in and then you lose a bit of stamina, so I don't want to do that. But climbing it is quite safe. You clamber onto the soft boulder, half expecting to be engulfed by it at any moment. Getting over it is difficult as your limbs sink into its soft casing, but eventually you manage to struggle over it. Relieved to be back on firm ground, you head east, turn to 13. The tunnel makes a sudden turn to the left and heads north for as far as you can see. The footprints you are following start to peter out as the tunnel becomes gradually drier. Soon you are beyond the dripping roof and the pools on the floor. You notice the air becoming hotter and you find yourself panting even though you are walking quite slowly. In a small recess on the left-hand wall, you see a section of bamboo standing on its end. I am recording? Yes. I'm just double-checking now. Lifting it down, you see it is filled with a clear liquid. Your throat is painfully dry and you feel a little dizzy from the heat in the tunnel. If you wish to drink the liquid, turn to 147, and I will drink the liquid. Thank you very much. The water in the bamboo pipe is welcomingly refreshing. Can't speak today. Welcomingly refreshing. I haven't had any beer or wine or anything. I just had my tea. Welcomingly refreshing. Add 1 stamina point. Yes, but I can't do because I'm full. It also contains a magical solution which will enable you to be exposed to melting point temperatures without harm. Now the big question is, the melting point of what exactly? What is melting point temperature? Is it the melting point of wax, which is, what, about 60 degrees or something? The melting point of butter? The melting point of chocolate? That's quite low. Melting point of iron, steel, titanium? Quite different temperatures, surely. So what, Ian Livingstone, is melting point temperatures? I'm just asking. I think sort of what he probably meant to say was boiling point temperatures, because that's sort of something that is hard to endure, but it's still doable with a bit of, yeah, I don't know. Discarding the bamboo, you start off north again in good spirits, turn to 182. The temperature continues to rise and you find yourself dripping with sweat. As you struggle on, the heat intensifies until it feels like white heat and becomes so unbearable that you begin to pass out. If you drank the liquid from the bamboo pipe, which I did, turn to 25. I'm going to rush a little bit now because I don't know where I'm going for quite a bit of the first part of the book now. So pacing's going to be a little bit faster than normal, and when I get to a place that I have to make decisions, I'm going to slow down a bit. Although the temperature in the tunnel is higher than you could normally tolerate, the liquid from the bamboo pipe keeps you alive. Turn to 197. And it's possible to do this without drinking if you succeed a luck roll. Not a luck roll, the skill roll. Skill roll, I think. Mercifully, the temperature now starts to drop rapidly and soon it feels almost cool again, although of course you've been in such heat that anything would feel cool in comparison. On the left-hand side of the tunnel is a closed door. It has a small iron plate in it, which might possibly slide open. So I will try to open the plate, because if you don't, you'll get into a trap there. And if you don't open the door, you don't find the rope. The small plate slides open easily and you find yourself peering into a room with a deep pit in the floor behind the door. On the opposite wall there are 2 iron hooks, on one of which hangs a coil of rope. If you wish to open the door, jump over the pit and take the rope, turn to 208. The door swings open into the room and you step back and jump over the pit. You put the rope in your backpack and jump back over the pit and leave the room and head north. So we've got... rope. Also, I forgot to put 2 gold pieces that I found in the box in the beginning. And I go to 326. ahead, you see that the tunnel turns sharply to the left. You turn the corner and almost bump straight into two fierce-looking orcs, armed with morning stars and wearing leather armor. You are totally unprepared, and as you draw your sword, one of them swings its morning star at you. Roll one die. I rolled a 4, which probably means I will get hit. And I go to 189. The orc's morning star sinks agonizingly into your left thigh. Lose 3 stamina points. You stagger backwards, but manage to regain your balance in time to defend yourself. Fortunately, the tunnel is too narrow for both orcs to attack you at once, which also probably means it's too narrow to use a flail, which is what they had in the picture earlier, or a morning star probably. Fight them one at a time. Right, so first combat. So we have, I've got my skill 11 and stamina 16, and the orcs are 5, 5, and 6, 4. Now how this works, I usually go through it just quickly. I roll 2 dice for my opponent, add it to his skill. So he's got a skill of 5 and add 5, so that's 10. That's his attack score. Do the same for me. I've got 11 skill and I add 10, that's 21. 21 is higher than 10, so that means I win the combat round. If it is equal, then nobody takes any damage. And the one that has the highest score is the one that does injury on his opponent. So he takes 2 damage from this attack round. And he's down to 3 stamina points left. When he gets to 0, he is dead. If I get to 0, I'm dead. So he rolls 6, I roll 11, he's got 1 hit point left. I'm not calling it hit points because that's a term from Dungeons and Dragons. He rolls 5, which means he is dead, even though I roll snake eyes because I got a 6-point advantage on my skill. Now the next one, I've got a 5-point advantage on my skill. By that I mean I got 11, he's got 6, which means he needs to roll 5 better than me just to get even. If he rolls 6 better than me, then he injures me. So he rolls 7, which means he can't really do much damage to me. He's down to 2 hit points. He rolls a 3, which means he's dead. So there we are. So I win and I go to 257. Inside one of the orc's pockets, you find 1 gold piece. So I'm up to 3 gold pieces. I'm not sure I need them for much. I think there's only one place I've seen so far where you need 1 gold piece. And a hollow wooden tube. Okay, so hollow wooden tube. I don't know if that's going to be relevant ever. I still haven't seen anywhere you can use that. Go to 164. As you walk along, droplets of water again start falling from the tunnel ceiling. You see wet footprints made by the same boots that you followed earlier, heading west. The footprints lead to a closed iron door in the right-hand wall of the tunnel, but do not seem to go any further. If you wish to open the door, turn to 299. Let's see, where am I now? I lost my place on the map now. Where on earth am I? Oh yes, here we are. I'm there already. Okay, so 83. Okay. Now if you do open the door, I think I sort of established there's nothing inside there that I actually need. So I'm just going to skip that and keep going. Unless I missed something. I think I got it. The passage soon leads to a junction. You notice more footprints on the floor, possibly as many as 3 pairs heading north from the south passage. You decide to follow them. So this is where the other path merges with this one. Yes. Turn to 37. The passage opens out into a wide cavern which is darker but much drier. Ahead you see the footprints gradually fade then disappear. There is a large idol in the center of the cavern standing approximately 6 meters high. It has jeweled eyes, each as big as your fist. There are 2 giant stuffed bird-like creatures standing on either side of the idol. If you wish to climb the idol to take the jewels, turn to 351, which is what we'll have to do, because this is, I've established, one of the essential items you need when you get, if you get to the end. The idol is very smooth and will be difficult to climb. Do you have any rope? I do. So 396. You make the rope into a lasso, whirl it above your head and throw it at the idol's head, smiling happily as it falls around its neck. You then tighten the noose and start to climb, holding yourself up the rope. You are soon at the top of the idol, sitting on the bridge of its nose and holding onto the rope. Draw your sword and wonder which jeweled eye to prize out first. So I'm going to prize out the left one, but the right one is a death trap, turns into poison and you die. As you touch the idol's emerald eye, you hear a creaking sound below you. Looking down, you are shocked to see the two stuffed birds flying off. Well, are you really? The wings flap in jerky movements, but they are soon above you and look set to attack. Fight the flying guardians one at a time, but reduce the skill by 2. And this is actually a really hard battle because for all intents and purposes now, I've actually got a 9 skill, and I'm fighting a 7-8 and an 8-8 opponent, and I should have eaten first probably. So this is the first place where I might actually die, and I'll have to reload my save game, so to speak, which I did last time. So first one, I got a 2 skill advantage on him, and he rolls a 12, which is a terrible beginning for me. I roll an 8, so I'm down to 14. He rolls a 4, that's a bit better. He's down to 6 hit points. He rolls 10. I rolled a 6, I'm down to 12 hit points. He rolls an 8, I roll a 6, that is a draw. He rolls a 4, I rolled an 11, that is me winning the round. He rolls a 5, I roll a 7, he's down to 2 hit points. He rolls an 8, I rolled a 2, I'm down to 10 hit points. He rolls a 7, I roll an 8, and he is dead. Second bird, I've only got 1 skill point advantage now. He rolls a 5, I roll an 8, he's down to 6 hit points. He rolls a 7, I roll an 8, he's down to 4 hit points. He rolls a 6, I roll an 8, and he's down to 2 hit points. He rolls a 12, I roll a 3, I'm down to 8 hit points. He rolls an 8, I roll a 9, and that means he is also dead. But I've only got 8 hit points left, so, or 8 stamina left. So I win and I go to 240. You look down and see the crumpled bodies of the 2 flying guardians lying motionless on the floor. You start to prize out the idol's emerald eye with the tip of your sword. At last it comes free and you are surprised by its weight when it falls into your hand. Hoping it may be of use later, so I've got the emerald now. You put it in your backpack. If you now wish to prize out the right eye, no, I don't want to do that. If you would rather climb down, turn to 89. So we are going to 89. Back on solid ground once again on the cavern floor, you try to shake the rope off the idol's neck, test your luck, and I'm rolling a 10. My luck is 11. And every time you test your luck goes down, so now it is 10. And I was successful. And I was lucky, and I go to 54. Which means I get to keep the rope, although I still don't know whether that is going to be of any use later. The lasso loosens itself, and you are able to shake it free of the idol's neck. It falls to the floor with a loud clatter. You quickly coil the rope up again and put it in your backpack. Wasting no more time in the cavern, you run forward to the tunnel in the northern wall. Turn to 239. So I am 239. Yes, there we are. Not much farther down the tunnel, you come to a closed door on your left. Putting your ear to the door, you listen intently but hear nothing. If you wish to open the door, turn to 102. I'll open it. You enter a room which is small and completely empty. As soon as you are inside, the door slams shut behind you. Suddenly a voice booms out of nowhere shouting, "Welcome to Deathtrap Dungeon, the ingenious killer labyrinth of my master. Adventurer, I trust you will pay your respects to my master by shouting out his name. Will you shout 'Hail Succumbit'?" or succumvit is a worm. I'm not going to go too much into why I think those choices are ridiculous, but both of them actually. But I'm going to say succumvit is a worm because I know that is the right choice. I said a bit more about it last time, why those choices don't make any sense. Once again, the mysterious voice calls out, only this time, to your great surprise, in a far less threatening tone. Good. My master likes those who show spirit. Take this gift to help you. It will grant you one wish, but one wish only. Farewell. A gold ring magically appears out of nowhere and lands at your feet with a gentle tinkle. You pick it up and put it on one of your fingers. So I've got a wishing ring, which I'll use later. The door opens and you step back into the tunnel to continue north. 344. So we are here. Yeah. Okay. The tunnel twists and turns but keeps steadily north. Ahead you see a thin shaft of blue light streaming down from the ceiling to the floor. It sparkles and shimmers and you can see images of laughing faces in the light. If you wish to walk through the light, turn to 229. I'm going to go through it. Which gives you a hint. As soon as your head goes under the blue light, you hear the sound of muffled voices. The faces are no longer laughing but have changed their expressions to one of despair and anguish. A young girl's sad face hovers in front of you and she begins to whisper a poem. Transfixed, you listen intently, believing that she has a special message for you as she recites. When corridor doth water meet, do not make a quick retreat. Take a breath and jump deep in, if your trial you hope to win. Terrible poetry, but good advice, I guess. Memorizing the spirit girl's poem, you step through the shaft of light and quickly head on north, turn to 107. Okay. So at some point I might face a trap where something is filling up with water. Right. 107, so I'm here. Okay. You come to an arched doorway set in the right-hand wall of the tunnel. The heavy stone door is closed, but there is an iron latch and a round handle. If you wish to try the door, turn to 168. If you wish to continue along the tunnel, turn to 267. And this is a place where I can get a dagger. I'm still not sure whether I need the dagger or not. Maybe I should just go in and try to get it. So I'm going to try the door. Lifting the latch and pushing the heavy stone door open, you find yourself in a large cavern. A light is dim and murky, but as your eyes begin to adjust, you see that the walls are covered in green algae and running with moisture. The floor is strewn with straw. The atmosphere is warm. That's a very nice alliteration, by the way. Strewn with straw. Strangely strewn with straw, yes. Strongly and strangely strewn with straw. The atmosphere is warm, damp and fetid, and a soft humming sound fills the air. You step gingerly through the straw towards a corner of the cavern where there appears to be a shallow pit. Peering warily into the pit, you are disgusted to see a mass of pale, writhing worms, some as much as 1/2 meter long. Utterly nauseated, you are about to turn away when you notice that their undulating bodies are swarming round a dagger. Its point held fast in a crack in the pit floor. The hilt is cased in black leather studded with opals, and the blade is fashioned from a strange reddish-black burnished metal you have never seen before. You long to touch the dagger, but this would mean plunging your hand in among the writhing worms. Do you reach for the dagger? I will reach for the dagger, yes, please. Taking a deep breath, you lean over the pit and plunge your forearm into the mass of wriggling worms. They are cold and clammy and feel extremely nasty, but at least they are harmless and you are able to seize the dagger by the hilt. You give it a hard tug and it comes away from the crack in which the tip was embedded. Admiring its beauty and wondering whether it might once have belonged to some luckless contestant, you put the opal-studded dagger firmly in your belt and leave the cavern. So, I've got a opal dagger. Call it that. Turn to 174. Now, of course, you don't get to leave right away. As you make your way back to the doorway, the buzzing sound increases in intensity, and you look around desperately to discover where it is coming from. Glancing up in the nick of time, you see the huge and grotesque black shape of a giant fly emerging from a recess high up in the cabin wall. As it gets closer, you realize that it is at least 1.5 meters long. Its opaque wings vibrate, making the sickening buzzing noise you can hear, and its 6 black hairy legs are poised to grasp your body. Of course, flies can't get that big ever. That's another story. Anyway, unrealistic it is. It is unrealistic. Unless it's a magical creature. And unless it actually isn't a fly, it just looks like a fly. Anyway. Below its multifaceted eyes is a long shiny black proboscis, which darts in and out venomously. You have stolen the giant fly's treasure from her brood of maggots, and you must take the consequences. Test your luck. So, luck again. My luck is 10, and I roll a 9. My luck is now 9, and I was successful. And I go to 39. You manage to evade the outstretched legs of the diving giant fly. Stepping back, you draw your sword and prepare to fight the hideous insect as it turns to attack you again. Giant fly skill 7, stamina 8. So I've got... And I forgot to eat something, so I've got 8 stamina left. So, okay. So I've got 4-point advantage on my skill. And fly rolls 8. I rolled a 5, so that is me hitting the fly. He rolls 7. I rolled 4. So that is still me hitting the fly. He rolls 4, I roll 7. He is down to 2 hit points. He rolls 4, I roll 7 again, and he is dead. And I should eat something to get my stamina back up again. So I need 12, get 3. Let's see if I do 7. I'm back up to 19. Let's just double check if there's an important thing that came in my email now. Nope, it wasn't. If you win, turn to 111. Okay. You wipe the vile yellow slime from the blade of your sword and walk quickly to the door, back into the tunnel and head north. Turn to 267. So, okay. 267. The tunnel ends shortly at a junction. Looking left and right, you see a narrow passage disappearing into the dim distance. If you wish to head west, turn to 352. If you wish to go east, turn to 68. Going west was just a combination of 2 different death traps and a monster. I'm not going west, so I'm going to go east and go to 68. You walk down the passage and soon find yourself standing at the edge of a deep, dark pit. The passage continues east on the other side of the pit. You think you could probably jump over the pit, but you are not sure. There is a rope hanging down from the ceiling over the center of the pit. So, I can either jump over the pit, reach for the rope, or yeah. So, I think because if you use the rope, you get a ruby, which I still don't know for sure whether I need or not. So I'm going to use the rope. Because I will get it in that case. So 212. So gripping the rope firmly, you step back to take a running jump. However, in the dim light, you do not notice that someone has cut the rope almost in two, just a little way above the section you're holding. As you swing out across the pit, it suddenly breaks, and you scream with fear as you plunge headlong to the depths below. Turn to 285. You land heavily on your back, but luckily your backpack cushions your fall. Lose 1 skill point and 2 stamina points. Okay. The darkness is almost pitch black at the bottom of the pit, and you crawl along the floor groping in front of you. Suddenly your hand touches something cold, hard, and smooth. The object is small and round, but you cannot figure out what it is. You place it in your backpack, hoping to see what it is once you're out of the pit. You continue to crawl forward and soon reach the pit wall. It is too smooth to climb, and you have to cut hand and toe holes in it with your sword. This takes a long time, but finally you climb out of the pit on the east side. You immediately check out the object in your backpack and discover that you have found an orb of blood-red ruby. You are absolutely delighted and head off east in high spirits, whistling softly under your breath. So I got a ruby, which I still don't think you need, but there you go. So I'll go to 237. The tunnel makes a sudden left turn and continues north for as far as you can see. You soon arrive at a closed wooden door in the left-hand wall. If you wish to open the door, turn to 12. I'm going to open the door. The door opens into a large candle-lit room filled with the most extraordinarily lifelike statues of knights and warriors. A white-haired old man dressed in tattered rags suddenly jumps out from behind one of the statues and starts to giggle. Though he looks like a fool, the sparkle in his eyes makes you think there is more to him than is apparent. In a high-pitched voice he says, "Oh good, another stone for my garden. I'm glad you have come to join your friends. Now, I'm a fair man, and so I'll ask you a question. If you answer correctly, I'll let you go free. But if your answer is wrong, I'll turn you to stone." He starts to chuckle again, obviously pleased with your arrival. Will you wait for his question? I will. The old man points at one of the statues and you recognize it immediately. It is the knight who started the trial of champions, the agonized look on his face locked in stone for eternity. The old man smiles, saying, "This man weighs 100 pounds plus half his weight. How much does he weigh?" Which is 200 pounds. So he goes to 391. Still smiling, the old man looks at you and says, "Well done, stranger. You have answered correctly. I wish you good fortune during the rest of the trial of champions, and to this end I shall increase your powers." He then mutters a few more unintelligible words, and you feel a powerful surge soar through your body. Add 1 to each of your skill, stamina, and luck. So skill back to 11, stamina is 18, luck is 10. You bid the old man farewell and leave his room to continue north along the passage. Turn to 100. Only a few meters further down the passage, you'll see another closed door in the left-hand wall. The letter X is scratched into its center panel. Putting your ear to the door, you listen intently but can hear nothing. And now I'm actually on the next page of my map here. Right. Let's see here. Yeah. If you wish to open the door, turn to 87. If you rather keep walking north, go to 217. If you keep going north, you get an Indiana Jones style boulder, don't you? So yeah, now I'm going to go open the door, go to 87. The door opens into a large room, turn to 381, and that's a dummy paragraph. It doesn't need to be there. Not really. I know there's another paragraph going to 381, but that's probably why it's there, but could have done more with it. You look around the room and see nothing of interest apart from an alcove in the west wall and a stone chair in the middle of the room. Sitting in the chair is the skeleton of an armed warrior, possibly a contestant from years gone by. The skeletal fingers of his right hand are gripped around a piece of parchment. If you wish to take the parchment from the skeleton, turn to 331. And of course I will. Touching the parchment has precisely the effect you had feared. So why wasn't I ready for it with my sword? The skeleton lurches forward and, rising from its chair in a series of jerky movements, raises its sword to strike you. Lunging sideways, you draw your sword to defend yourself. Skeleton warrior and skill 8, stamina 8. So we've got, I'm at 11, 18. He's got 8, 6. Got a 3-point advantage on my skill. So he rolls 7, I roll 3. So he hits me first. He rolls a 5. I roll an 8. He's down to 4. He rolls 12. I roll 8, so I am down to 14. He rolls 6. I roll 7. He's down to 2. He rolls 7. I roll 6, so he is dead again. Poor thing. And I'm down to 14 stamina. So yes. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong number now. 71, not 17. Okay. Once again you reach for the parchment, only this time it is lying amidst a pile of broken bones. Unfolding it, you see a map of a room with a drawing of a hideous creature inside it. Beneath the monster is a rhyme which reads, should you meet the manticore, of its tail beware. Shield yourself against the spikes flying through the air. You fold up the piece of parchment and put it in your backpack, not tearing it up this time. Repeating the rhyme over and over to yourself, you walk across to the alcove, turn to 128. So later you will be asked if you've read that, I think. And if you have your shield still, then you will be able to protect yourself from the spikes. At the back of the alcove are some steps leading down into a cellar. Cobwebs brush your face as you descend. The cellar ceiling is quite low and the floor is strewn with rubbish and debris. In the middle of the wall opposite you is an archway which leads into another crystal-lit tunnel. There are large mushrooms growing on the rubbish to your right. If you wish to step through the archway, turn to 35. If you wish to stop to eat some of the mushrooms, turn to 233. And for anyone watching my last week's episode, that's the last time I died, was when I had the mushrooms to eat. So I'm not going to eat mushrooms this time. So I'm going to go to 35. Last time I was exploring a few options I hadn't looked at before, of course, because I'm still looking for the last few items I need. It looks like they might... The thing is, this is very linear, actually, because when you veer off the right path, there are more traps. So most of the way it's actually linear. The tunnel continues west for several hundred meters. That's the right one, yes. Finally ending at some steps leading up to a closed trapdoor. You climb the steps slowly, hearing muffled voices above you. In the dim light, you can see that the trapdoor is not locked. You wish to knock on the trapdoor, turn to 333. You wish to burst through the trapdoor with your sword drawn, turn to 124. And that's the option I went with the first time I was here, and I think I'll do that again. And this is the second time I've been here, of course. You throw the trapdoor open and run up the steps into a bright lantern-lit room. Two goblins are sharpening their short swords on a stone set in the middle of the floor. You catch them momentarily off guard, but they quickly recover and both rush forward to attack you. Both goblins, why do you let them recover? If you burst onto them, you just quickly attack them and kill them before they have a chance to do anything. Anyway, so these are both fighting you at the same time, so that is a little bit different. Let's see, so I'm 11, 14, and they are 5, 4, and 5, 5. So basically it's ruled like two separate combats, but only one of them you actually do injure your opponent. The other one you're just defending. So 6-point advantage on skill. So first goblin rolls 10. I roll 8. So that's me hitting him for... That's the one I'm attacking for damage now. The other one rolls an 11. And I roll 5. So that is a draw. So he doesn't injure me, but I wouldn't have injured him even if I had a higher roll. Next round, he rolls a 10, I roll an 11, so the first one is dead. Second one, just for defending, he rolls 6, I roll 7, so I don't injure him, but I defend myself against him. Now I get a chance to attack the second one, which is the only one left. He rolls a 6, I roll 11, he's down to 3. He rolls a 5, I roll a 3, he's down to 1. He rolls a 9, and I roll a 6, and he is dead. So, yeah, 11, 14. And let's see, it's still a while until I get any stamina here, is it? Yeah, I'm just going to eat a ration now as well. Get my stamina up to 18. Okay. So I win and I go to 81. The only furniture in the goblin's room is a table, 2 chairs, and a cupboard on the wall. Oh. There are 2 closed doors, one in the west wall and the other in the north wall. So, right. Well, there is somewhere I haven't been yet as well. So open the cupboard. Of course, I'm going to open the cupboard first. Have a look. The cupboard contains a wooden mallet and 10 iron spikes. So mallet plus 10 spikes, which you put in your backpack while wondering which door to open. So last time I went west. And at some point I think that, and while going west I found a skull with topaz eyes. I got to a point where I actually had a chance to use that wishing ring that I got. There's another place there I can make a different direction as well. So there are lots of places I haven't discovered yet. I'm going to start now by going north, because that's the first place I've got to now that I haven't been before. And this is probably also the first sort of save point I should sort of think of making now, where things I have, I will keep them for next time. Just do like that, just to indicate on my character sheet now the values I had when I was at this point. This is at 307, paragraph 307. Because the thing is, I'm going to do exactly the same in the beginning now. Of course, some of the results from the combat might be different, but I think it sort of makes sense to play with stats like what I've got now, 11, 19, 11. And I'm not really going to try to play with anything significantly less, because I know that won't work. So next time I play, if I start over again, if I make a new video, I might start from this point rather than from the beginning. So there we are. So I'm going to open the north door now and go into unknown territory. The door opens into another tunnel which rises gently into the distance. After walking uphill for a while, the tunnel levels out and you soon arrive at a door in the right-hand wall, to which a withered hand is nailed. If you wish to open the door, turn to 210. If you would rather continue north, turn to 78. So we've got 78 north, or 210 doors. Now, of course, I have to start checking out doors again. You enter a room in which a man in tattered clothing is standing chained to the wall by his left arm. You see that his right hand is missing and realize that his must be the hand nailed to the door. Pleading for mercy, he cowers back from you as far as his chains will allow. If you wish to cut him free from his chains, turn to 27. If you rather leave the room to head north, turn to 78. So we got like so. So I'm going to free him from his chains. Usually when you do that, people just become antagonistic and try to kill you. You step up to the frightened man and cleave the chain with your sword. Yeah, because that works, doesn't it? He drops to his knees and bows, thanking you over and over again. Tells you that 4 years ago he entered the trial of champions, but failed. Well, duh. He fell down a pit and had to be rescued by a trial master, one of Baron Sukhumvit's dungeon administrators. He was offered a choice between death or servitude in Deathtrap dungeon as the trial master's minion. That was sort of the choice I was given as well when I got to the end without the right gems. Choosing the latter, he worked like a slave until he could stand it no longer and tried to escape. Alas, he was unsuccessful and was captured by the trial master's wandering orc guards. To teach him a lesson, they cut off his hand and condemned him to a year's imprisonment in this cell. You ask him whether he has any information that might be of use to you. He scratches his head. Well, I haven't exactly done very well in here myself, he says, but I do know that you need to collect gems and precious stones if you hope to get out. I don't know why, but there it is. Without another word, the ragged prisoner dashes out of the room, turning left into the tunnel. Decide to keep heading north and turn right into the tunnel. Turn to 78. Okay, so you're told you need to collect gems. Yeah, so I suppose that is a hint that if you hadn't got that already, that's useful. I still don't know whether this is the best path or whether going left is. I think that's topaz. Right. So, 78. There is an open pipe in the right-hand wall about a meter in diameter. It is too dark to see far down it. You shout into it and hear your voice echoing down the iron pipe until eventually the sound fades away. If you wish to crawl down the pipe, turn to 301. If you'd rather continue north, turn to 142. My statistics for crawling down any sort of tunnel or burrow or things is not very good from last time. So 142 north or 301 pipe, but of course I am exploring now and I do expect to die, so I might as well die properly and go into every single death trap there is. The pipe is wet and slimy, but you crawl on into the dank darkness, slithering and sliding as you go. Suddenly your hand touches something, excuse me. Suddenly your hand touches something hard and square, which feels as if it is made of wood. It rattles as you shake it, and you decide you must be holding a box. If you wish to crawl back out of the pipe and examine your find, turn to 162. If you rather press on further down the pipe, taking the box with you to examine later, turn to 4. So, so 4 or 162. Go back. Maybe, yeah, okay, I'll put 162 there to return. I don't know, going further into the pipe, it sounds like it's if you got a death wish, I suppose. It must be a death trap, surely. Yeah, I'm not going to go down the pipe, of course, but I will just check that is a death trap. And, yeah, it is. So I'm going back. Removing the box lid by the light of the tunnel, you find an iron key and a large gem. It is a sapphire. Okay, so that's a sapphire. That's one of the ones I need. So, I know that's one of the ones I need. So that means this is the correct path in that case. So this is where I'm supposed to go. So I suppose we go like this. Just to make a circle around the correct path. Add 1 luck point. Okay, so back to 11. Placing the items carefully in your backpacks, you set off north once again. Turn to 142. Let's see. I suppose I can move my save point now to this. Okay. Okay. 142. There is a new branch in the tunnel on your left, and ahead you see 2 bodies lying on the floor. You stop and peer down the new tunnel, but seeing no doors or creatures, you decide against walking down it. Really? You see a corridor and you decide against walking down it? Shouldn't I be given the choice of doing that? With your sword drawn, you walk over to where the bodies lie. Turn to 338. So now 338. That's okay. So I'll go down there. 338. The bodies are those of 2 orc guards. At least one of your rivals in the Trial of Champions must still be ahead of you. A quick search of the bodies produced nothing apart from a necklace. Hang on. Is that the same one? Yes, 338. Aha. I thought I said 338 there, but I wasn't sure for a moment. So that means that this connects there, which sort of proves the point that this is very linear actually. There's sometimes you go 2 separate paths that diverge again, and they converge very quickly. So that's just the wrong path in this case. This bit here. Okay. So I've been there before. So there we are. A quick search of the bodies produces nothing apart from a necklace of teeth hanging around the neck of one of the orcs. You should wear the necklace yourself. Turn to 123. Might as well, because it is a good one. It's a lucky necklace, isn't it? The necklace is an amulet of strength. Add 1 skill point and 1 stamina point. Now, of course, it does always say in the rules of these books that your skill can't go up a path beyond the original. But the thing is, I'm just going to have a house rule that says every time you get a piece of equipment that affects your skill, that's a different thing from losing or gaining skill in other ways, like drinking a potion or being injured, etc., etc. It's a different thing. So in all those cases, your magic items, whether it's a better sword or a helmet or a shield or piece of armor that gives you extra skill, it would have to go beyond the original. So in this case, for the purposes of combat, I will have 1 extra skill. That's how I usually see it. So the only thing that actually makes sense, I think. So necklace plus 1, which gives me an effective 12 skill in combat. So yes. 282. Okay. This is where we meet the barbarian with the sunglasses. That's what it looked like. Yeah. The tunnel soon ends at a junction. Standing there alone and wondering which way to go is one of your rivals. It is one of the barbarians. You call out to him, but at first he does not answer. He merely stares at you coldly, his hands firmly gripping his axe. You walk up to him and ask which way he is heading. He grunts his reply, saying he is going west, and you may go with him if you wish. If you'd like to head west with the barbarian, turn to 22. If you'd rather decline his offer and head east alone, turn to 388. Now there was a hint if you go east, so I'm going to go east and pick up the hint. The tunnel soon comes to a dead end. A piece of paper brown and curled with age is pinned to the end wall. If you wish to pull it off the wall to see whether there is a message written on it, turn to 23. So I'm going to go to 23 now. Okay. The paper bears a simple warning written in dried blood. Beware the trial masters. Well, I suppose we already know that. You replace the paper on its nail and run back down the tunnel to rejoin the barbarian. Turn to 154. I don't know whether that's going to be relevant or not, having read that, but I'm just reading it now because it doesn't do any harm. I don't get injured or anything. Running down the tunnel, you soon catch up with the barbarian and tell him that the eastern passage comes to a dead end. He nods his head in silent understanding and sets off west with you at his side. Turn to 22. Although you are slightly uneasy in each other's company, knowing that there can only be one winner in the Trial of Champions, you are both content to share in the benefits of a temporary alliance. You begin to tell each other of your exploits so far, of the monsters and traps encountered and the dangers overcome. Walking along, you soon come to the edge of a wide pit. It is too deep and dark to see the bottom. The barbarian offers to lower you to the bottom with his rope, saying he has a torch which he can light for you to use. So the options are: accept the barbarian's offer, offer to lower him down if he is so eager to investigate the pit, or suggest that you both jump over the pit instead. Right, so let's see. Last time we decided to I accepted Barbarian's offer, and that seemed to be okay. Now the problem is I still don't know where the diamond is. And are there other places later where there's... Oh, I'm presuming there's I need a diamond as well now. I don't know for sure, actually. But I'm just going to keep doing the same thing as last time because it did seem like a good thing to do. And I'm going to do that every time as well. So I might as well just have a look at the other options now just quickly just to see what happens. So this is... Well, I suppose the interesting thing though, what happens if you don't go along with a barbarian now for some reason? Is all this bit coming up next going to be different? That is interesting to know. Maybe I should try to get away from barbarian now, because last time I went with barbarian and then just to see what else happens. Okay, so set my save point now for this place. So at 22. So I'm going to be at 22 for my save. 22, save game. At 11, 19, 11, 6, 3. And these things here. That's my save point. And I'll see what happens if I choose something else now. So I'm gonna offer to, yeah. The thing is, if you let yourself go down into the pit, or you let the barbarian lower you down, you sort of gain each other's trust in a way, and it's quite a nice friendship that actually develops over the next few paragraphs, which is quite nice. But let's see what happens. It suggests that you both jump over the pit instead. See what happens. The barbarian reluctantly agrees to your alternative suggestion. You both step back and take running jumps over the pit. Landing safely on the other side, you continue down the tunnel. The barbarian, who is leading the way, suddenly stumbles on the floor stone, which tilts forward, triggering a boulder loosely set in the ceiling. It crashes down on top of him, knocking him to the floor and crushing his skull. You must continue your quest alone. That's quite quick and easy, isn't it? So basically the barbarian dies instead of being your companion for a while. So that is quite different to what happens if you go the other way. So I'm going to map this down here now, because I know a lot of this is to do with your time spent with the barbarian. You stand up and carry on down the tunnel. Suddenly you see daylight at the end of the tunnel. You run forward towards the most beautiful sight you have seen for a long time. Clear blue sky and green trees. You walk as fast as you can towards the end of the tunnel and emerge expecting to see the welcoming sight of cheering people. But there is no hero's welcome from the people all around you. They are all dead. You are standing in a cold chamber littered with armored skeletons and bodies. The exit to victory was just an illusion. Only the corpses of the past adventurers are real. Utterly dejected, you walk back towards the tunnel but hit an invisible barrier. You are trapped in this ghoulish place and destined to end your days in the chamber of the dead. So that is actually a death trap. So the end. So that is my first proper end today. So that doesn't work. So and just to be exhaustive, now of course I'm going back to the pit again, and if I choose to lower down the barbarian first, I'll just do that now because it's different from what I did. The barbarian, who tells you he is called Throm, ties the rope around his waist, giving you the free end. As he lights the torch, you see a look of distrust in his eyes. Slowly he climbs over the edge of the pit while you brace yourself and take the strain of the rope. As you lower him little by little, you see the smooth sides of the pit illuminated by Throm's torch. He finally reaches the bottom and calls up to you, saying that there is another tunnel running north. He tells you to secure the rope around a rock protruding from the edge of the pit and lower yourself to the bottom. You wish to stay with the barbarian, head north down the lower tunnel, turn to 323. You wish to abandon him by jumping over the pit to head west, turn to 149. So obviously, at this point, you are definitely meant to go together with the barbarian, because going west will just bring you to the same place. You might even get killed by that stone that killed. I'll just quickly have a look at what happens if you go west now. Okay. Yes. First you have to go through the trap, which is what killed the barbarian. That actually is a trap. And then, of course, you get to the other bit. So, yeah, basically you're screwed. So, yeah, 323, you have to follow the barbarian. Which would have been really weird if you had a big section now with the barbarian and that wasn't the default that had to happen. So after tying the rope around the rock, you lower yourself slowly to the bottom of the pit. Throm retrieves his rope by shaking it off the rock, and you set off together down the new tunnel. Turn to 194. So in this case, it doesn't really matter whether you do with this or this. You can do like this and this. On a stone ledge in the tunnel wall, you see 2 dusty leather-bound books. Throm grunts his contempt for the written word, urging you to leave the books and hurry on. Will you open the red leather book? Yes, I will. They were both good, I think. Both good books. As you open the book, it begins to disintegrate and the pages turn to dust in your hands. You manage to keep a few fragments and read the handwritten script. The book appears to be about monsters, and from what you can make out, it contains a full description of a monster called the Blood Beast. It is a horrific bloated creature with tough spiny skin and facial blisters, which burst open to become mock eyes, evolved to hide the Blood Beast's only weak spot, its real eyes. Blood beasts usually dwell in pools of fetid slime which give off a poisonous gas. This gas is so strong that it can easily knock people unconscious. The blood beast, although too bulbous to hold itself out of its slime pool, has a long and vicious tongue, which it wraps around its victims before it drags them into its pool. As the victim's flesh starts to decompose in the vile slime, the blood beast will feed from it. You tell Throm about the grotesque blood beast, but he merely shrugs his shoulders and tells you to get going. If you have not done so already, you may open the black book, turn to 138. The book's pages are sealed together, but a small hole has been cut out in the middle of them, just large enough to hold a small corked bottle containing a clear liquid. You show it to Throm, who holds up his hand, indicating that he does not want you to come anywhere near him with it. His distrust of things unknown is strongly evident. Will you drink the liquid, rub it into your wounds, or open the red book, etc.? So, well, at the moment, there's really no point drinking it or rubbing it anywhere because my abilities are actually full at the moment. But what it does do, if you do drink it, is it gives you 2 luck, I think. So red book, black book, and yeah. So no point doing that really. So I'm going to go to 369 now, which is the next paragraph. The tunnel turns sharply to the right, continuing east for as far as you can see. Thrum stops and tells you to halt as well. He turns his head slowly from side to side, listening. I hear footsteps coming down the tunnel towards us, he whispers. Draw your sword. You both crouch down to hide in the shadows, and not a minute too soon. For a moment later you see the silhouette of two armed figures approaching. Thrum jumps up and dashes forward, screaming a loud battle cry. There are two cave trolls in front of you. Thrum attacks the first one with his battle axe, and you run to his aid and attack the second cave troll. So this is quite a strong opponent, and this is another absolutely unavoidable battle as well. I'm at 11, no sorry, I'm at 12, 19 because I have a magic necklace. And the cave troll is at 10, 11. So I've got a 2-point advantage on my skill. So he rolls a 12. I roll an 8, so I'm down to 17 stamina. He rolls a 5, I roll a 2, so I'm down to 15 stamina. He rolls a 6, I roll a 9, he is down to 9. 9 and 5, I'm down to 13 stamina. See, it's quite hard this. He rolls a 10, I roll a 3, I'm down to 11 stamina. He rolls an 8, I roll a 3, I'm down to 9. He rolls a 10, I roll an 8, that is a draw. He rolls a 7, I roll an 11, he's down to 7. He rolls a 6, I roll a 5, he's down to 5. He rolls a 7, I roll a 7, he's down to 3. He rolls a 5, I roll a 9, he's down to 1. He rolls 11, I roll 9, that's a draw. He rolls 2 and I roll 11, so that means the troll is dead. I've got 9 hit points left. If you win, turn to 288. Let's see. You look to your left and see Thrum standing over the cave troll he has slain. Blood is pouring out from a deep cut in his shoulder, but it does not seem to worry him. You search the bodies of the cave trolls, but find nothing apart from a bone ring on the leather cord hanging round the neck from one of them. The ring is engraved with a symbol which Thrum recognizes. He explains that it must have belonged to the druids of the north, and that an ancient talisman such as this will increase your powers if your body is able to accept it. Thrum will not touch it, and advises you to leave it well alone. If you wish to put the ring on, turn to 64. If you'd rather continue east, turn to 221. So this is... So, cave troll, I suppose unavoidable. Winning. So I'm going to put on the ring and go to 64. As soon as you put the ring on your finger, your whole body starts to shake. Roll 2 dice. If this total is same as or less than your skill score, turn to 115. And it is. I presume if it is more than the skill score, something bad will happen. Let's check that actually. While I'm here. Yeah. 15. Your body continues to vibrate intensely and you feel as if you're about to pass out, but your strength is great and you manage to withstand the tremendous shock to your system. Finally, you calm down and begin to feel the ring's beneficial powers working on you. Add 3 stamina points. So now I'm up to 12 stamina. You see Thrum looking at you anxiously, so you reassure him that you are fully recovered. He strides off east and you follow him eagerly. Turn to 221. So, so that really depends whether you should do that or not. And that's minus 3 stamina. Right. The tunnel leads into a damp, high-ceilinged cavern with a rock-strewn floor. Long dripping teeth-like stalactites hang down threateningly, their constant dripping creating milky pools on the floor. The tunnel carries on through an archway carved in the shape of a demonic mouth. If you wish to search the chamber, turn to 374. If you'd rather head straight for the archway, turn to 60. Now, searching... Test luck. Last time I was unlucky. What happened again when I was unlucky? I'll just check that now. I think that, yeah, if you search a chamber, the stalactites start falling down. That's why I've circled it in well, squared it off in red there to indicate that's not supposed to do that. So, just wanted to check what was going on there. Okay, so I'm going to head straight for the archway and go to 60. So the tunnel ends at the large oak door. Throm wastes no time in testing the handle and is somewhat surprised to find the door unlocked. He pushes it open and walks into a torchlit chamber. Sitting alone on an ornate chair is a dwarf who bids you enter the chamber. As you do so, the oak door swings shut behind you. "Adventurers, you have done well to get this far," says the dwarf in a deep voice. "However, as you both know, there can only be one winner of the Trial of Champions. As Trial Master, it is my duty to Baron Succumbit to let only the most able continue. Therefore, I must devise a test of wits and strength to eliminate one of you. Please do not attempt to dispose of me. It would be utterly pointless, for as you can see, there is no obvious way out of this chamber, and only I know where the hidden exit lies. Now, if you would care to decide between you who will go first, I shall make the necessary preparations." You look at Throm, suddenly angry that your effective partnership might come to an end. He leans over and whispers in your ear that you should try to kill the dwarf and worry about the exit later. We should join Throm in attacking the dwarf. Turn to 179. If you would rather persuade Throm to go through with the dwarf's test, turn to 365. So, trying to attack does not work well, I think. So, we shall go with the tests, I think. Also, I shall eat something. So, 365. You tell Throm that there is no point in killing the dwarf, as you will never find your way out of the chamber alone. You argue that an opportunity of tricking the dwarf might arise later, once you have found the exit from the chamber, so you intend to go through with the dwarf's test. You tell the dwarf that you are ready and he beckons you to follow him, telling Throm to wait for his return. A secret door opens in the chamber wall and you follow the dwarf into a small circular room. He closes the door behind you and hands you 2 bone dice, telling you to throw them onto the floor. You roll a 6 and a 2, a total of 8. The dwarf asks you to roll them again, but this time you must predict whether the total will be the same as, or less or more than 8. If you wish to guess that it will be the same, turn to 290. If you wish to guess that it will total be less, turn to 191. If you wish to guess that it will total be more than 8, turn to 84. This is a bit silly because you're actually guessing the next roll now. Oh no, it's most likely it will be less. So that's what I'll go with. But I think this is quite an unfair test because it's just random now. Roll 2 dice. And it's more than 8. So I go to 121. The dwarf looks at the dice. "Not very good at playing the odds, are you?" "Well, actually, I was playing the odds." He sneers. "I regret you must suffer a penalty before you continue." From out of his pocket, he produces 2 pills. One is stamped with the letter S and the other stamped with the letter L. So that's S is for stamina or skill, L is for luck. He asks you to choose one and swallow it. If you wish to swallow the pill, stamp the letter S. Okay, so just so I'm getting, let's see, I'll just put that there now. So pill L or pill S. But I don't want to lose skill. Still need my skill. Don't want to lose luck either, but so stamina is always okay to lose. When do I need luck next? It's a test of skill. Luck +1. Okay. Maybe. I'll go with the L. 354. The pill makes you feel as though the whole world is against you. Lose 2 luck points. Okay. The dwarf tells you that you can now go on to the second stage of the test. He reaches for a wicker basket. Okay, so luck is down by 9. Okay. He reaches for a wicker basket, which he informs you contains a snake. He tips up the basket and the snake drops out onto the floor. It is a cobra, and it rears up in the air, ready to strike. The dwarf tells you that he wishes to test your reactions. You must grasp the cobra bare-handed below its head, avoiding its deadly fangs. Crouch down on the floor, tensing yourself for the moment at which to seize it. Roll 2 dice. If the total is the same as or less than your skill, turn to 55. So I'm testing against 11. I'm rolling a 5. That's fine. With lightning speed, you thrust your hand out and grip the cobra just below its open mouth. You lift it up and, arm outstretched, dangle it in front of the dwarf. He doesn't flinch, but says in his calm, expressionless way, "Please put the cobra back in the basket and prepare for the final part of the test. Follow me." You do what he says and follow him back into the chamber, where Throm is pacing up and down, obviously ill at ease. You wave to him while the dwarf opens a second secret door and tells you to walk on through and wait for him. Again, you comply and you find yourself in another circular room, although this one resembles a small arena. The floor is covered with sand and a small balcony runs around the arena wall. Opposite, the secret door by which you entered is an ominous-looking wooden door. Suddenly you hear a shout and you look up to see the smiling dwarf standing on the balcony. He throws 2 pieces of paper down to you. On one of them, the words "No crop is" are written, on the other, "Ruin Moat." In his ever-calm voice, he says if you rearrange the letters of the words, you will find the names of 2 creatures. You may choose which one to fight in my arena of death. So, obviously a scorpion and minotaur. So I don't know which one is harder to fight, though. I did the minotaur last time. And let's see, let's check what the minotaur is. 9/9. So 9/9. Maybe I'll try the scorpion this time just to see what that is like as well. Well, the scorpion's actually worse, yeah. Okay, so Minotaur is actually the easiest one to fight. So I'm going to fight the Scorpion this time. So the Scorpion is 10/10 and poison venomous as well. You call out to the dwarf, telling him to send in the Scorpion because you're ready to fight. Slowly the wooden door rises and a huge grotesque black scorpion squeezes underneath it and enters the room. So the correct option here is to go with, let's see, what's 347 now? There's some strange things going on here with my map. Just checking what that is now. Ah, yes, of course. If you can't figure out whether it's a scorpion or minotaur, then you're supposed to go to 347. Just out of curiosity, what is that? Because I'm always going to know what it is now. So let's check that. Okay, that's also the end. Oh, it's very easy to cheat on this one if you wanted to, I suppose. Okay. The scorpion attacks you with both pincers, and you must treat each pincer as a separate creature, as though you're fighting two creatures. Okay. Both pincers have a skill of 10 and will attack you separately in each attack round, but you must choose which of the two you will fight. Attack one pincer as in a normal battle. Against the other pincer, you must roll for your attacks and blah blah blah. If during any of the attack rounds the scorpion's attack strength totals 22, turn to 2. So it rolls 12. Okay. So it's a really hard opponent actually, because you're fighting two creatures that are 10 then. What is the whole... Actually, this is not very clear, because does the whole scorpion have stamina of 10? So basically it just gets 2 attacks. You still need to only... Okay, so it's just having more of a chance of injuring you, actually. So it's just a lot tougher opponent than the Minotaur. So anyway, I will try. Let's see what happens. So I'm at 11 or 12, 18 actually, for the purposes of fighting, as I established with the house rules. And 10, 10, and 10, 10. Now, so, or actually just 10, 0 really. So 1, 10, 10, 1, 10, 0, because it's only got 10 stamina to get all put together. So 2 skill point advantage, and rolls 11, not 22, and 6. I'll roll 6, yeah, so he hits me, and he rolls a 6, and I roll 5. So that is, yeah, so I get down to 16 hit points. He rolls a 7, I roll 6, so he's down to 8. He rolls 4, and I roll an 8. That's the second pincer, and that doesn't injure me. He rolls an 8. I roll a 7, so he's down to 6 hit points. He rolls a 3. I roll a 6, so that's no injury from the second pincer. He rolls a 7. I roll a 6. That's me hitting him again. And he rolls a 6, and I roll an 8. That's fine. He rolls a 3. I roll a 12. So he's down to 2 hit points. He rolls a 6. I roll a 7. That's no injury from the second pincer. And finally he rolls a 10. I roll 7. So that is him hitting me. Second pincer rolls a 10. I roll a 9. That's no injury. He rolls a 6. I roll a 7. So he is dead. Second pincer rolls a 6. I roll an 8. So no injury from that. He didn't roll a 22, but very close. I presume if you roll a 22, I'll just check what that is. That he poisoned, yeah. So he uses the sting if he rolls a critical hit, which is kind of cool to have a sort of critical hit thing. I think that's something that's missing from the combat system usually. Okay, so that's a very tough combat, and one that one shouldn't really have to do. But the Minotaur is so much easier. So next time, that is the path I am taking. I'm having one more Russian and going back up to 18 stamina, and I'm going to 163. The dwarf calls down from the balcony, congratulating you on your victory. He throws a sack down into the arena and tells you to relax and regain your strength for the final part of the test. Okay. You open the sack and find a jug of wine and a cooked chicken. If you wish to eat and drink the dwarf's offerings, turn to 363. I can do that because I still have a little bit of injury left. The food and drink are excellent and you feel much better. Adds 2 stamina points, so I'm back up to 19. So let's see, so that's eat, and that gives you +2 stamina. And then you go to 302. After about 20 minutes, the dwarf reappears on the balcony. He calls down to you saying, "Well, I do have an interesting problem on my hands. Prepare to fight your next opponent." The wooden door rises once again and you are surprised to see a familiar face. It is Throm. He is cut and badly bruised and doesn't seem to recognize you. He is clearly delirious as he staggers forward with his axe, raised to attack you. The dwarf laughs and says the cobra bit him, but he has the strength of an ox and managed to carry on. Even though most men would have died, now you must fight him to decide finally which of you will continue the trial of champions. You shout abuse at the dwarf, protesting against the cruelty of such a contest. He merely laughs and you have no option but to defend yourself against poor Throm. So I've got 12, 19 now, and he is 10, 12. Now this is another battle that is unavoidable, interestingly. So you have a few battles that are unavoidable. You have the birds quite early on, where even if you have 12 scale, you have 2 less for the combat. So you only have 1 and 2 skill point advantage in this battle, and there's a 9/9 the Minotaur and a few others now. So and the Cave Troll, which is 10/11. So basically, you have some really tough battles in this one that are unavoidable, making it quite hard to succeed, even if you know exactly what you're doing. So. Right, so I'm going to roll for this combat. I've got a 2-point skill advantage now. So he rolls first. He rolls an 8. I roll a 9. So he is down to 10 hit points. He rolls an 8. I roll 7. He's down to 8 hit points. He rolls a 9. I roll an 11. He is down to 6 hit points. He rolls a 9. I roll a 6. He hits me and I'm down to 17. He rolls a 9. I roll a 6 again. I'm down to 15, sorry. He rolls an 8. I roll a 7. He's down to 4 hit points. 8, 6, a draw. 10, 6. I'm down to 13. 7, 9. He's down to 2. 5, 8. He is dead. Poor Throm. There we are. 379. Exhausted by your long duel, you fall to your knees. As you stare at Throm's still body, a bitter loathing for the dwarf fills your heart. Somehow you will avenge Throm. Engulfed in your hatred, you do not notice the dwarf enter the arena until he is standing right in front of you, a loaded crossbow aimed at your chest. "I know what you are thinking," he says calmly, "but remember that only I know the way out of here. Get up, it is time for you to leave." Once on your feet, the dwarf indicates that you should walk ahead of him. Back in the chamber, he crosses over to the northern wall and pushes against one of its stones. A door-like section of the wall swings out, opening into another crystal-lit tunnel. With his crossbow still aimed at your chest, the dwarf smiles, saying, "Good luck." If you wish to walk straight into the tunnel, turn to 213. If you would rather take a punch at the dwarf, turn to 145. Now, of course, last time I didn't try taking a punch at him, and I'm not going to do this time either. And I'm never going to do that, I think. I'm going to see what happens, though, because I'm just doing that now. I'm sort of exhausting all the possibilities just to have a little look. Actually, it looks like you can... Well, actually, it is not the end of the game to attack him. So I'm a bit surprised, actually. So yeah, so it is possible to attack him, actually, and get away with it. I'll be able to just do that, man, because I just a revenge from. So I'm going to take a punch at the dwarf. A dwarf is expecting your move. Furthermore, you are not as fast as you should be because of your recent ordeal, so he easily evades your punch, saying, "I could kill you now if I wished, but I yearned for a hand-to-hand fight." Then he throws down his crossbow and draws an axe from his belt. Despite your fatigue, you think only of vengeance. So he has got a skill of, let's see, put it down here now, 8-6, and it says during each attack run you must reduce your attack strength by 2 because of your condition if you win turn to 28. So that means for the purposes of this combat, my skill is then 10, not 12, and my stamina is 13. So I've got a 2-point advantage. He rolls a 9, I roll a 10, he's down to 4 hit points. He rolls a 5, I roll a 5, he's down to 2 hit points. He rolls an 8 and I roll a 7, so he is dead. See revenge. Quick and swift. If you win turn to 28. The dwarf's chainmail coat is of finest quality iron, obviously made by a master armorer. Strip it from his body and place it over your head. Add 1 skill point. So that's another skill point of the kind that is, so chainmail +1. That of course only in combat it would give you, that's how I do it now. It does not give me extra skill for skill checks that has other things like opening a door or things like that, or trying not to pass out from the heat. But in combat I'm giving myself +1, so my effective skill for combat is now 13. That is my house rule now. There is nothing else of use to you in the chamber, so you decide to investigate the new tunnel. Turn to 213. So 213. Maybe I should eat something first, actually. Let's see. 13, which is here. Okay, so fighting him. So that is dwarf. He was 8-6 and -2 skill, and then you win, and you go to, let's see, I didn't have to write fix, make sure my map is correct now. So you go to 28 and chainmail +1 skill. Okay. And then you go to 213. Okay. Let's see, my stamina is 13. I should eat 1 provision. Got 2 left. And I got 17. The tunnel soon divides into 2. You hear a buzzing sound coming from the western branch. You wish to walk west to investigate who or what is making the noise. Turn to 108. If you would rather continue north, turn to 13. Now, if you go west, you find that that is... Well, there's a path going west there as well that I haven't been to yet. Okay, but anyway, the buzzing thing is from a little sort of chamber of insects where there is a... what looks like a diamond turns out not to be. And I think it's time for a new save point. This one I'll do in black now. So I'll just black, so 17, 9 luck, 3 gold, and these items, and I am at 213. Still got my potion of stamina there. So the tunnel soon divide. Okay, so now there was, when you check out going west, there was a path westwards as well, wasn't there? Let's check that out now. So go to 108. Now there is a large panel of glass in the left-hand wall of the tunnel. Through it you can see a bright torchlit room teeming with giant insects of every possible description. Bees, wasps, beetles, ticks, even the mites are over 6 centimeters long. The noise is threatening. In the middle of the room, a jeweled crown lies on top of a small table. What looks like a large diamond is set in the middle of the crown. So, you can break the glass, try to snatch the crown. Not a good idea, I found out. Continue west or return to the junction. So, now, the question is, of course, now there are lots of paths here I haven't been to yet. Now, practically know everything I need to know earlier in the game now, so of course this is probably where I should be starting from next time if I decide to die soon. So I'm going to continue west and see what is there. I'm still looking for something, so ahead in the far distance you hear the sound of slow footsteps coming towards you. Unsure of who or what might be approaching, you look around for a place to hide. You find a large crack in the tunnel wall which lies in shadow. You should stand your ground with your sword drawn, turn to 341. Rather hide in the shadows, turn to 283. So 283, hide. 341. Wait, I suppose. So I suppose I'll just hide in the shadows for a change. You have to squeeze yourself deep into the crack to conceal yourself completely. From this cramped position, you're unable to see the owner of the feet that shuffle slowly by. A minute later, all is quiet again, so you pull yourself back out in the tunnels. Actually, that's a bit of a shame, isn't it? Maybe there's something important going by. You know what? I'm going to redo that because I think it's more interesting to see what happens if you wait. So a crippled man with shackled feet shuffles into sight carrying a wooden tray laden with bread and water. He looks tired and miserable and quite unmoved by the sight of you, tries to walk past. Will you talk to him? Take the bread and water off his tray. Offer him some of your provisions, if you have any left. So I'm going to do one of three things. 367 talk, 38 take, or 169 give. So I'm going to talk to him, see if there's anything to get out of him. He looks at you warily when you tell him you are a contestant in the Trial of Champions. But why else would you be there? You ask him what he is doing in the tunnels, and he replies rather reluctantly that he is a servant of one of the trial masters. Baron Sakomvets appointed controllers of section of his dungeon. After chatting for a while, he admits that he would like to escape, but no one is allowed to leave the dungeon in case they reveal the secrets of its construction. And this is again, of course, a little bit of a... It doesn't really go with the beginning because it said the citizens of Fang were the ones building the dungeon. What happened to the ones who built it? Are they trapped in the dungeon? Were they allowed to escape with their lives? I don't think so. He tells you that he hopes one day to bribe his way out, and that for 1 gold piece he will tell you where some treasure is hidden. If you wish to pay for the old man's advice, turn to 244. I do wish to pay for his advice, actually. Minus 1 gold piece. If you would rather just wish him well and continue west, turn to 109. So that is an option as well. 109 west. Now I'm going to pay him a gold piece. And it takes a gold piece and tells you that in the northern tunnel there is a wooden chair carved in the shape of a demon bird. And the arm of the chair is a secret panel which contains a potion in a glass vial. It's a doppelganger potion, if I remember right. Good luck. I hope we meet again outside these infernal tunnels. So, let's see. Hint about a doppelganger potion, whatever that is. And 109. Okay, so I think there's quite a bit of tunnel I haven't seen here yet. You arrive at another junction in the tunnel. If you wish to keep heading west, turn to 43. So that's 43. West. If you wish to go north, turn to 24. North. Yes. At some point, I presume I'm going to go back to this bit here because I get to sort of the end game here. I'm going to keep heading west for now, see what happens there. The tunnel turns sharply to the right and continues north for as far as you can see. There is a door in the left-hand wall which is ajar. You hear someone cry for help from the other side of the door. If you wish to open it, turn to 200. If you rather continue north, turn to 316. So 316 or 200. I'm going to open the door, of course. The door opens into a small room with a straw-covered floor. In the center of the room there is a large draped cage standing some 2 meters high. There is a cord fixed to the top of the drape which runs up through an iron ring in the ceiling and hangs down to the floor. If you wish to pull the drape up, turn to 321. If you would rather prefer to leave the room and head north along the tunnel, turn to 316. This looks like a trap to me. Of course I'm going to pull the drape up just to see what happens. You pull the cord and watch the drape as it rises up the sides of an iron cage. The woman's voice urges you to be quick, telling you that the room is booby-trapped so that the floor will fall away in 1 minute because of your extra weight. If you still wish to help her, so 321. If you still wish to help her, turn to 289. If you'd rather leave the room and head north up the tunnel, turn to 316. I have to see what happens now. So the drape rises to the top of the cage, and there, to your horror, you see the face of an aged woman whose hair is a mass of seething snakes. It is the dreaded Medusa. Test your luck. My luck is 9. And I make it. And my luck is now, 8. If you're lucky, turn to 216. Okay, so I was thinking that was going to be a serious trap. So let's see. 289. Test luck. Unlucky. Probably means you turn to stone. Lucky means you get to go away. 216, hopefully. Recognizing the snake-like head of the Medusa, you close your eyes to avoid her deadly stare that would turn you to stone. If you wish to enter her cage with your eyes closed to dispose of her with your sword, turn to 308. If you'd rather retreat out of the room with your eyes closed to continue north, turn to 316. Well, you know what? I'm going to have to try to kill her now because... Yeah, I just have to. 308. The Medusa shrieks as you enter her cage, keeping her eyes firmly closed and slashing your sword wildly from side to side. You feel the blade sink deep into her side and hear a loud thud as she slumps heavily to the ground. You open your eyes again and shudder at the sight of the prostrate figure of the Medusa. Her gown is fastened by a large brooch bearing a single bright red gem. It is a garnet. So I've got a garnet as well. Let's see. 308. And you prize it out of its setting, put it in your pocket, and leave the room to head north. Turn to 316. So 316 again. I still don't think I need a garnet. A tunnel continues for quite a distance before you reach a junction. If you wish to head west into the new tunnel, turn to 296. If you rather continue north, turn to 241. Okay, so we've got, I'll just move them up here a bit. So 296 west or 241 north. I'm going to go west again, I suppose. Ahead, you see that the tunnel turns a corner, beyond which it continues north. You stop before the corner, startled by the sound of high-pitched voices, whispering and sniggering. If you wish to draw your sword and look round the corner, turn to 49. If you'd rather walk back to the junction to head north, turn to 241. So I'm going to look around the corner, see what's going on there. You peep around the corner and see two small creatures running away from you. Both are dressed in baggy clothes and wear pointed floppy hats. They are mischievous leprechauns. If you wish to follow them, turn to 205. If you'd rather walk back to the last junction to head north, turn to 241. Given several opportunities to walk back now, I'm going to follow them though. 205. Running after the leprechauns, you hear more laughter, only now it is behind you. You look round and see 6 more leprechauns emerging from behind a hidden door in the tunnel wall. Suddenly, yet another leprechaun drops on your back from a ledge fixed to the ceiling. Shaking him off your back, you draw your sword, whereupon the leprechauns laugh even louder. If you wish to attack them, turn to 306. If you'd rather try to walk past them, turn to 161. Attack, walk, past. I don't try to walk past them. You push past the 2 leprechauns and head off north, the noise of jeering and laughter ringing in your ears. Further up the tunnel, you stop to rest and check your belongings. If you had any gems, they are now gone. So basically, that means the end of the game. The leprechaun who landed on your back stole them from your backpack. You curse the thieving leprechauns and set off north again, turn to 29. So, 29 north, but basically it's the end. Let's see, where's my red pen disappeared to now? Oh, there it is. I thought the leprechauns had stolen that too for a moment. Okay, so minus all gems, which basically means the end. Now, the question is what happens if you attack them, because, well, is it possible to get by here? Try to attack them, they take all your possessions. Okay, so basically that doesn't work either. So that means that basically you're screwed whatever you do if you go this path. So that means that you really, really, really need to stay away from this bit here. Doesn't matter where the last bit go to now. So the correct path would have to be this one down here. So anyway, so that's basically the end of the game again for the second time today. And I think I'll leave it there. But the thing is, I've got a sort of a save point now where I can get back to. Because I have to choose whether I'm going back to. I'll probably want to go back to this point here now, before the leprechauns. So I'm going to continue from here, I think. Next time, 241. So 241. And just, I didn't lose anything else now, so I'm just going to keep the stats and the items I have and restart from, play from here next time. Because I think that's the best way to do it now. Otherwise, I'll just keep repeating too much of the same thing over and over again. So I'm going to pretend that I didn't go and see the leprechauns now, and I will go back to go north instead of west there, and then see what happens, and using the same character and everything else. So that's another 2 defeats in this game. So today was my 8th run and my 9th run. So next time I'm starting on my 10th run. And it's going to start from paragraph 241. So so thanks for watching. If you've been with me this far, it's quite a long and an arduous adventure, this one, and I've already died more or been defeated more times in this book than I have been in all the other ones, which is suitable, I think, again with the title of being Deathtrap, of course, Deathtrap Dungeon. So I think that is fair enough. I'm just going to leave that there ready for next time. So I might play another time tomorrow, and of course my next session is going to be a little bit shorter now because I'm going to skip so much in the beginning. I'll just do a quick recap probably at the beginning of my video, or refer to this one. And yeah, so thanks for watching, and for your patience if you watched the whole thing. They are quite long, these videos, and I really hope that I know some people are watching all of them, and thanks for that. I mean, I'm enjoying playing it, and I'm doing this for fun, so the video is just a sort of optional extra for me that sort of gives a little bit more. The thing is, I find things like this more fun when I read it out loud to myself, so it just becomes a natural extension of that to make the video as I'm playing it. And if anyone else has any enjoyment out of it besides me, that is brilliant. But first of all, I'm doing it for myself, for my own enjoyment, and I would have done it anyway without making videos, but I think it's just an extra bit of fun. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time with more fighting fantasy fun in Deathtrap Dungeon. More death, possibly, and hopefully more gems as well. So yes, bye for now.